hundreds of seeds on every blade. But you are taking thousands of these blades, juicing them and drinking them. Can you imagine the power that they give you? Now we have studies that I report in my books, Food is Medicine, that show how it kills every form of cancer, wheatgrass. How it kills the two forms of viruses, rhino and retrovirus. How it kills all the 88 different bacteria tested as of 4 months ago. We're up to 88. Every one it kills. How it reduces spirocade Lyme's disease in the body. So is this food? Food is medicine. And biblically, Jesus Christ himself, read the Essene Gospel. Read about Nebuchadnezzar in the Bible. When God was trying to heal people, they healed them on grasses. Nebuchadnezzar, the wildest, weirdest guy in the entire Bible, a rapist, murderer, overeater, slaughterer. Now, if I were God, I wouldn't be as compassionate as he is. If I had a guy like that, I'd hit him with a lightning bolt, pick him up, hit him with a lightning bolt, hit him again. Make sure he really got it. But God said, oh no, I'll put him out on the fields for how long? 7 years to eat what? Grass. And the rest of that story is interesting. He became one of the nicest people. And why? Because when you clean the body, you clean the head, you clean the colon, you clean the self, you give a powerful fuel that has phytonutrients that kill disease and prevent disease and premature aging. It makes you a healthy, sane person. But again, that's too simple for you to understand in most cases. Cancer cannot survive with the oxygen that's present in this. Dehydrated foods. If you want to stick on a raw food diet, this is the key. If there's nothing else you understood I said tonight, read this and get it. Because this is how you do it. Now, I thought I was brave and strong, and I was so proud that I stuck to raw food. The fact was I had a lot of really strong women around me that when I was whining for cookies, they said, let's make them in dehydrators. Because if it was up to me, I'd be at the bakery buying them out every other day. And so, how you get over the cookies, how you get over the bread, how you get over all of the nonsense that we're addicted to. Don't think you're not an addict. You are an addict. You don't think you are, you have a bigger problem than those who know they are. Get you're an addict. So don't say, I'm never going to touch those foods again. Find ways to make those foods healthy foods so you're not killing yourself in the process of getting over that addiction. Now, I promise you, you do that long enough, and you're not going to want them. Not to say you don't, it's not nice. Last night, I got off the plane from Hamburg, where I spoke for 3 days, and Bernadette invited me to her lovely home with her family, and she made these kale chips. How many of you have ever had kale chips? This is one of the most popular upscale foods now in the top restaurants in the world. It went right out of the health industry. Now, upscale places where we're not talking about vegan diets, they have kale chips. They're that popular. Delicious. She also made sweet potato chips. So you're going to want chips. I mean, the Irish fish and chips are part of what you do. So you get over the fish. You actually have fish substitutes and seaweed combinations that taste better than. And some of the best seaweed in the world is from Donegal, right here, where I spoke last year. And the fact of the matter is, then your chips can be the dehydrated sweet potatoes that taste a whole lot better than any potato chip I ever had in my life. And this doesn't take a lot of money and doesn't take a lot of time. And it's not a life's work. Those of you who have a lot of money, you can buy this stuff. But I think it's silly. Buy a dehydrator, a lot less expensive. On a rainy night, and you have plenty of those, you basically cut these things, marinate them. Bernadette will teach this to you in classes. And make enough for a month. And when your kids start whining, you know, one of the most frustrating things to me, people say, how do I get my kids to eat this way? I say, be a parent. You know how many people have said to me, well, we've reversed cancer, we've reversed multiple stroke, we've reversed diabetes, we've reversed heart disease, but we can't get our kids to eat this way. So you're just damn incompetent parents. You mean to tell me you've reversed a major disease and you don't have the competence to make your child do this? What do you want them to get the disease? So wake up, people. Remember, you're responsible if you're a parent. You're contaminating your children. Again, the number one killer of our babies now in the United States, and it will be exported here, is brain cancer. For infants, for 1-year-olds, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds. The number 2 killer of children below 18 is brain cancer and leukemia. Only accidents supersede that. And if we stopped them from driving at 16, maybe that would slow down too a little bit. So the dehydrator preserves the enzymes, so it makes raw food taste like cooked food. And the real fanatic purists are going to say, but it's not as good as fresh stuff out of the garden. No, it's not. You won't just eat fresh stuff out of the garden. You're going to need some of this rich food, as I call it. Tasty stuff, chewy stuff, feel-good stuff, fun stuff. And that's why those inexpensive dehydrators, do you have dehydrators here? These are inexpensive. And I'll tell you a great story. About 15 years ago, we moved into a house. I had this guy that always helps me fix things, because I'm about as mechanical as forget it. Mechanical is not part of my language. My father was an architect. I'm an enigma to him. He couldn't figure me out. You give me a screwdriver, I think it was a plier. You give me a plier, I think it was a screwdriver. And bottom line is, this guy was there, and I took this really fancy, I didn't know it was fancy, microwave, and I pulled it out of the kitchen, and I gave it to him. I said, I really like you, but I know you're going to use microwaves. I should throw this away. He said, oh, no, that's an expensive one. Give that to me. And I put a dehydrator in there. And he kept looking at it. He was there for like a week helping me. He kept, what the hell is that? I said, a dehydrator. I said, would you rather have me buy one of those for you? He said, what? How does it work? You put it on, and how long does it take to cook the food? You couldn't get it through their head. And this is the bridge. This intensifies the flavors. So again, last night, here we are sitting right here in Dublin, your town, and eating these wonderful chips, delicious. You would give them to anyone. Nobody would squawk over this stuff. You think they have delicacy. Dehydrated crisp, no heated fats. And what we do know, if you heat fat up, it causes what? Heart disease and cancer. We've known that for a solid 50 years. So you can take the best organic oil in the world, cook it, and get cancer from it, or get a stroke from it, or get a heart attack from it. And don't let this nonsense that coconut oil cooking is better for you. No oil cooked will not cause heart attacks and cancer, period. They burst the molecular structure of it, stick inside of your body, smother the cells, and once you start doing that, you're on the way out. Food is not enough. We need to supplement with plant-based nutrients. Now, I would love to tell you that what these Mary Poppin type raw fooders tell you, well, if you eat raw food, you don't need any supplements. We're the guys that do the research. Remember, everyone that comes to us, we do blood tests, sophisticated testing, beginning of their stay, end of their stay. We don't even find people like me who live like saints for decades, who always have 100% of the nutrients we need. Why? Because all of us today have something that starts with an S, and has two other S's in it. What is that called? Stress. Stress burns nutrition out quicker than anything else. And you don't think you're stressed? Again, your great-grandparents and great-great-grandparents had no television, had no radio, had no cell phones, had no laptop computers, didn't know anyone in the next town, hung out with their family, hung out with their children, their wives, husbands. You follow what I'm saying? We were stressless. Today, what we know from psychology is that the average person has 15,000 times more stress than their grandparents. Want me to repeat that? 15,000 times. And by the way, with the information age, and now with our smartphones that we carry, endless, constant, perpetual information in our hand, they anticipate by the middle of this century it's going to be 100 to 125,000 times more stress. We're not going to make it, I don't think. Our endocrine system and our brains are going to pop it. We now have a substantial body of data showing that if everyone took a few supplements every day, they could significantly lower the risk of a multiple of disease. Harvard University, our top university in America, just like your Trinity College here in town, study authors showed that vitamins and minerals in our diets put us at a deficiency, of course, put us at a risk of heart disease and a wide range of other problems. Now, the problem with it, you're going to learn, is that 90% of supplements are garbage. So I'm telling you that you need them, but I'm telling you to watch out for 90%. I wrote a book a number of years ago called Supplements Exposed. How many of you have read that book? Do you have any of those books here? I pulled the lid off this one. You know, part of what I perceive my job as, and since I've been in my late 50s and 60s, is pulling the lid off. I expose the fish, how incredibly dangerous. I wanted to kill you, I'd give you a fish. I'm doing milk now. I did clothing, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. A lot of you are sitting here at a health conference with breast cancer. Young lady said, oh, I was diagnosed 3 months ago with breast cancer. I said, I bet you're wearing an all-on bra. Yeah. How do you think you get breast cancer? What we do know, you're going to see in a minute, you get 6 times greater chance of getting breast cancer if you wear man-made fiber bras. And bras are a new thing, by the way. 110 years ago, there were no such thing as bras. I can tell you a woman didn't invent them. Just like high heels, you think a woman invented high heels? You've got to be out of your mind. Under current law, a vitamin marked as natural only has to contain 10% of generally natural plant-derived ingredients. The other 90% of ingredients can be synthetics. So back in the 1930s, the pharmaceutical industries were shrewd enough to go around the world, including Dublin, and get your legislators to make laws that were bogus, saying you could stick natural on the side of a supplement when it was 90% oil, 90% turpentine, 90% coal tar. And this is not an opinion, by the way, this is a fact. And it's not 90%, it's 91% to be exact. For the manufacturers to make the deceptive claim, if a product contains even 1 carbon atom, it can legally be called 100% organic. Carbon atoms have nothing to do with organic. I stopped calling our supplements organic because the word organic now is so prostituted. It doesn't mean anything. As a matter of fact, next year I hope to write a book on NOS. It's something we've been organizing internationally. We're in the future, and I hope we have the money sometime to do this. But when you walk into a health store, there'll be a gold label on it, like good housekeeping, so you'll know what are whole food supplements and organic supplements are not. At this point, it's all a lie, most of it. Synthetic nutrients are designed to trick your body. Your body knows the difference. Natural nutrients are absorbed readily because we are biologically programmed to recognize a natural occurring compound as genuine nutrients. To your body, not your mind. Your mind wouldn't read anything. You know, you read the latest health magazine from Dr. Shmahuki from the University of Baronka. You ever notice these weird names these guys have? You have to have a weird name to become a research scientist. And Mashuki from Baronka said, and I'm making this up, of course, that if you take a copious amount of vitamin Z, you're going to live forever and be sexy. Now, as sure as I'm sitting here, when you read that article, the next day you'll be marching down to your local store with a minimum wage employee, thank the Lord, read the same article. And last night became an expert on it. And you say, Dr. Mostronki said that if I take 5,000, you ever notice it's never a little bit, 5,000 milligrams of vitamin Z, that I will live forever and be sexy. And this newly appointed advocate expert says, well, if you take 10,000, you'll live double as long and be double sexy. You go home and start to pop chemicals into your mouth, but there's something in your body a lot smarter than you call the immune system. Uh-oh. Doesn't get fooled by advertising and lies. It really has a core understanding of its job, knows who it is. And it says, here comes an alien foreign chemical substance. Let's attack it. Now why that's bad is you don't want your body's immune system to be attacking a chemical supplement. You want it to be preventing viruses, molds, bacteria, fungus, yeast, and cancer. You don't want to divert your immune system 1 inch in 2013. Natural nutrients are absorbed readily. The rest, forget it. What's in your tap water? I'm shame on you. You're as bad as the United States here. That's hard. I don't find too many countries that are as chemically crazy as the United States. Every other single European country in the world took fluoride out. And let me give you a little story about the United States. In the year 1993, our Environmental Protection Agency came out. Listen to what they said. Fluoride causes cancer. 1993. How many years ago was that? 20 years ago. Now, wouldn't you think if the Environmental Protection Agency said that, the next day they would say, we are outlawing fluoride in the water? That part never came. Your country must have very strong aluminium lobbies that come here, because most fluoride is taken from a waste product from the aluminium industry. They didn't know what to do with it. It was costing them millions of dollars to get rid of a year, so they put it in your water and told you it was good for your teeth and bones. What it is good for is causing cancer. What it's good for is slowing down the intellect of your children. What it's good for is making you impotent. What it is good for is wiping out your thyroid and other glands in your body. That we do know. But we do know that the fluoride from the aluminium industry doesn't do a thing for your bones. 3 toxic chemicals allowed in drinking water under the 1960 Fluoridation Act. Sodium fluoride, sodium silicofluoride, and hydrofluorosilica acid. Aluminium. This is a great one. A lot of you are sitting here tonight with aluminium stuck under your underarms. Pretty good idea, isn't it? What that does is completely stops the sweat glands from working, so all the disease goes up into your breast and your lymphatic system. So if I wanted to give you cancer in an especially good way, I would say, don't only eat meat, don't only eat fish, don't only eat dairy food, don't only eat a lot of cooked food, don't only get negative, don't only not exercise, but by the way, stick some aluminum under your underarm. And maybe drink a little fluoride in your water. Any of this sound promising to any of you? This is what you and I do every day. We never think about it. It's amazing. We never think about this stuff. Aluminum, listen to this one, is used in water filtering. This is called folication, to remove dirt, which it also does to our blood cells. It causes strokes and heart attacks. 87% of every single water filtration system in the world has aluminium in it. And 100% of the time, that takes red and white blood cells out of you. That causes strokes and heart attacks. Now, why would you buy a water filtration system? To protect your health. And now I'm sitting here as a health expert telling you that when it has aluminum in it, which it has how many times? 87% of the time, that you are now going to not only not get healthy, but potentially have a higher, much higher incidence of heart attack and stroke. Now, why? Because aluminium is a lot cheaper to use than other forms of steel. Like number 10 stainless steel would be the ideal when you stick it in. Because it doesn't bleed, it doesn't leach. The fact of the matter is, it probably costs 1/5 or less to put the aluminium in. It accumulates in our bones, kidneys, and breasts and causes anemia. It is found in deodorants that glue our sweat glands so toxins cannot get out. That could lead to breast cancer. Aluminium in pots, pans, and foil can cause Alzheimer's. Go back to Gertie Daly again, big biceps, but laid in bed, didn't know who we were for the last 10 years. We came from a lower income family when I was a boy. Working class. My grandfather started on the railway when he was 12 years old. My grandmother used to clean houses. I never knew I was poor though, because I was loved. I was loved. And how I was loved is with food a lot. And I'll never forget, Grandpa came home, he went to the races and probably won all of $5 that day. My grandmother used to yell at him, he was like some fiend. He'd go to the races once a month, and that was his high point in his life. Working 80 hours a week. Penny bridges, by the way, that's what he eventually did. And he came home with a new set from Woolworths of aluminium pots and pans. My grandmother cried. Oh, Danny, thank you so much. I've just needed pans for years. And every single day when I was at my grandmother's, which was all the time, we were eating out of aluminum pans. And we always had leftovers because you needed leftovers. It was a cheap way to eat the next day. And it was always wrapped in what? Aluminum foil. And poor Gertie didn't know who we were for 10 years. And so think about how many people you know that lost their memory. And maybe it was all of these things we're talking about. Because there's nobody in the scientific community that understands heavy metal toxins that doesn't agree today that aluminium creates dementia. Clothing is linked to breast cancer. Medical evidence shows the longer a woman wears a bra, the greater her chances of developing breast problems, including the risk of breast cancer. Studies have determined that synthetic fiber products, electrostatic discharges, and its results, the wearing of tight synthetic clothing and undergarments, is a contributor to infertility in men. Now, I don't know how you women got us to wear panties. We never wore panties before until the 70s. All of us, you got these colorful panties that stuck our testicles up on our throat. You ever notice that? What happened to you guys? Too much meat? Too much dairy, too much meat? How many of you guys wear that stuff? When ready to pull your pants down? That's because they're black, you think that's manly? You get what I'm saying to you? The reality is, when we started to wear those tight underwear, they stuck our testes up, they get heated, we become what? Infertile. The rates of inflammatory prostate problems dramatically rise. And part of that is potential cancer in yourself. With women, we actually know that synthetic bras, I said it about 28 minutes ago, increase the chance of breast cancer by how much? 6 times. I'm not saying 6%. 1 full time, 2 full time. If you have the big bosom, you're in a bigger problem because there's something called underwiring. And when you put underwiring in, you now have with synthetic bras and underwiring an 8 to 12 times greater chance of breast cancer. Now, does it make a little sense if you have lift glands and you put a wire under it to hold your breast up so they look perky to men? That's what this whole thing's about, by the way, perkiness. And you're going to get 8, 9, 10, 11 times more now. Bottom line is, I'd rather have a healthy woman that doesn't look perky to me, that's alive, than a dead woman with perky breasts. Probably in her casket, she'd have perky breasts. Oh, look at how perky her breast is. Well, she did die at 42. Well, she looked good when she died. All the men will be pleased. Jesus, my God. Pre-menopause women who do not wear bras have half the risk of breast cancer compared to bra users. Now just read that. Just read it. These aren't things we're making up to scare you. We're telling you the truth and nobody else is. It's a damn shame is what it is. How about natural bedding? Let's hope you spend 8 hours a night in bed, because you're supposed to. Every major sleep expert in the world tells us until the day you die, you should be sleeping 8 to 8.5 hours a night. If you're not, you're in trouble. What we know from the American Cancer Society that looked at all of Canada and all the 50 states is that if you sleep 6.5 hours and less and 10 hours or more, you have 3 times greater chance of the 3 major cancers. Now, why is less sleep and more sleep both going to give you more cancer? Does anyone know what a lot of sleep means? Depression. That suppresses your what system? Your immune system. Too little sleep does what? Suppresses your immune system. So, oversleeping, depression, suppresses it. Undersleeping just destroys you. And you better get into a natural fiber bed. I mean, you can invest in all these fancy clothes. Some of you have BMWs and Mercedes. You go and shop at the finest places, and you're sleeping in some plastic bed, inhaling plastic all night long when you're sleeping. You got to get your priorities straight. And the reality is, they're not that expensive. If you look around, you're going to see them. You get online, and some of the best ones are not made in the United States, they're made in Europe. Austria, Germany, so they're a lot less expensive for you to get here. I'm sure there's bedding companies in Dublin, aren't there? Right back here? Put your hand up. Where's the bedding company? Oh, there you are. You should be jumping around at this point. Are you going to give us a demonstration of going to sleep back there on the bed tonight? We installed these in our house, and I noticed immediately, by the way, years and years ago when I did it, I got a better sleep. Free from synthetic and harmful chemicals, relief from allergies and skin sensitivities. Look at this. Now here in Ireland, you don't know a lot about this, but some of your cousins over there on the continent have outlawed this crazy practice. Now, a silver filling is 50% mercury. And our Environmental Protection Agency, the same group that said fluoride causes cancer, found that 1 filling is enough to close a 10-acre lake. Do you know how big a 10-acre lake is? This room here is about 1/4 of an acre. So how many rooms would that be? 40 rooms? 40 rooms this size. Now, you know how many fillings I had because I was on a good Irish diet? 22. Probably the healthiest thing we ate in my house was soda bread. Bottom line is, I'm going to tell you, 22 fillings. I could have closed the entire nation's lake system in Ireland. I thought I wasn't Irish. Everyone in this room, we could probably cut off part of the ocean. Now, if we know this, and we do know this, this is the United States Environmental Protection Agency saying 1 filling should close a 10-acre lake. Why are we still permitting this? My wife's country, which is very sane, outlawed this. They said, you're not going to put deadly poison in people's mouths. But root canals are just as bad. Last year, over at a medical school in England, this was a funny story, they picked the subject on dentistry. I don't know that much about dentistry. I had to learn. And I'm always a big shot. I think, well, I've done these lectures, I could speak about anything. And you know, it was 24 hours before I had to do the lecture at the medical school. I looked, I was stunned. They said I had to speak on dentistry. So I had to get on the internet and pull everything together I ever knew, and I made a demonstration. And it's funny, I'm good. I forced myself into learning things that way sometimes, and it was amazing how incredibly significant the data is now in 2013 on how deadly root canals are as well. Root canals, for instance, there was a study done in Germany. They looked at 684,000 women with breast cancer over, I think, a 2-decade period. And they found out that the 2 teeth that related directly to the breast in, what was the number? 59%, no, 64% of the women who had breast cancer in either one or both of the breasts literally had one or both of those with root canals in it. You know what a root canal does? Sticks infection in your body permanently, systemically, pushes it in. So now it weakens the overall body and the immune system. It is found in adhesives, air conditioning, fabric softeners, floor waxes, cosmetics, seafood, laxative, and tattoos. What? Mercury. So here you are waxing your floors with mercury, putting in fabric softeners, the seafood you eat, thinking it's a healthy thing. Of course, a good Irish seafood that's as fluid as a cesspool, most of it coming from China. They have some picture of some guy in Donegal catching it in his bare hands, and you buy into that stuff. Arthritis. And something as simple as phytoturmeric. When I was putting together books a few years ago, I never take off work because I love what I do. I had to take 4 days off because I had to read 2,600 studies on turmeric. Now, after reading those studies, I thought somebody's making all this stuff up. That's how outrageous it was. And the way we first learned about turmeric is the Indians. You know, we don't have enough Irish and American people who want to become doctors now. So the Indians have to become the doctors, so they come in. And the Indians kept saying to us in Ireland and America and all over the world, we don't have people with dementia. No people in India with dementia. We kept saying, oh, that's crazy. You must have people who don't know who they are. And we finally went over there and we said, oh my God, we don't have dementia at any significance. The only ones that have dementia are Indians who lived in the West and came back. And what is it about the Indian diet? Aha! They finally traced it back to turmeric, which is in what? Curry. Now, by the way, you and I couldn't eat enough turmeric in 10 lifetimes to get to where they are genetically with turmeric. But we can extract the curcuminoids, the active phytochemical from turmeric, and give you pills for it. But this stuff is amazing for arthritic conditions. It also takes care of forms of cancer because of inflammatory, diabetic conditions, 1 and 2, actually edema, right across the board. Turmeric contains curcuminoids, which have been scientifically shown to enhance brain function, reduce inflammation, promotes anti-cancer effects. Now this is the biology of a human cancer. The usual route of travel for cancer is to the bone, brain, and vital organs, like the lung and liver. Now, the problem with cancer is we're treating it completely backward. We cut into it. And the next time I come here, we're going to do more detail on photographic, microscopic pictures of a cancer cell. But the reality is, when you look at a cancer cell, it is like a spider with extremely long legs. And when the doctor comes in, she or he says, we've got to cut it out. But they never get all the legs. And this is why it comes back 93% of the time. Because when they cut into it, the leg then starts to spill billions, literally billions of cells, and then it goes to the hip, the liver, the bones, etc. And they cannot exhume unless it's a very small, early stage, stage 1 cancer with an extremely competent surgeon who's not on his way to a golf game, who says, I will spend the time to cut around the parameters. Early stage, stage 1. You get to stage 3 and stage 4, these tentacles may be spreading 5 feet in every direction in your body. The usual route is that. How do these cells get injured? Our somatic cells. Chemical carcinogens, biological carcinogens, physical carcinogens. Hippocrates right now with the University of California is in the middle of a study, well, really coming to an end, to disprove genetics as having anything to do with cancer. I will repeat this. Next time you hear a doctor say that you genetically are going to get cancer, say, doctor, you're wrong, because the geneticists say that's wrong. And by next year you can say, the University of California, along with Hippocrates, published a study to disprove it. And what we did intentionally is we took late stage, stage 4 cancers of the breast, stage 4 melanomas. And why we intentionally selected those diseases is because this is one of the rare times in writing they say we fail with this all of the time. So when you go to an oncologist and you have stage 4 breast cancer, they say they're going to treat you, these people are incompetent and charlatans. And number 2, if you have stage 4 melanoma, in both of those cases, everywhere in history throughout decades, they have said we have 0 success rate. So we pick those so that next year when the university publishes a study and says that we have proven through the most sophisticated immunological studies available today that you can reverse cancers and it has nothing to do with genetics, or you couldn't reverse it. This is where we need to go, because the pharmaceutical and biological community hijack genetics and they know nothing about it. Last year in my country alone, they had 8,500 women lay on a table, remove a breast when they didn't have cancer, because they said your grandmother had it. Do you know how barbaric that is? I can tell you how we'll stop that. Start having penelectomies. Men aren't going to tolerate that. First one comes off, that's it. We'll be in the streets. We'll go over to France. Give us the damn tractors. One of the things we use readily is systemic enzymes. We didn't learn this because we're smart. We learned this from Northern Europe, where they have civilized medicine. So if you're in some of the countries, in the Nordic countries, and you have cancer, they actually use protein-high enzymes in it. Now, cancer happens to be a protein. And I shouldn't be saying this because it's a no-no. But the truth of the matter is if cancer is a protein and we have enzymes that can eat a protein, you think that's a pretty good idea? So we made the strongest one available on Earth today. We worked on that for about 3 years before we put it out. A heavy dose of proteolytic enzymes are an important part of any comprehensive anti-cancer program. We also have chemozen terrorists. Several times I had to tell this to people because you've chosen to endure nuclear war. So when you kill the body's immune system with nuclear radiation and nuclear chemotherapy, at least we have things that will protect. Now, why the cancer comes back 93% of the time is because every cancer cell you kill 1,000 healthy cells. Now, we may protect 60 to 70% of the healthy cells, and this way it won't come back rampantly. The picture I'd like to give you on this is if you're in a forest and I want to get a guy on the other side of the forest, what's the best way to do it? Knock down the forest. That's what they're doing with chemo and radiation. Now, if there's no forest, it's easy for me to get the cancer on the other side. Move it over there. So these are things we don't guess about. We work really hard, and again, we're on the front lines of the most serious diseases. Hippocrates is not as lucky as a hospital. People don't come to us when they're first sick. They usually have to go through the monkey show, be lied to. It fails. Often the doctor finally says to you, there's nothing more we can do. Then they say, reluctant, okay, I'll get on the plane and come. So we're taking people back from the grave all of the time. And we're watching what works and what doesn't work. We don't have the opportunity or the grace of God not to get it right the first time. And that's why you got to go right to the jugular of this stuff. Weight loss, the easiest thing in the world. Anyone that's fat, you're not exercising, you're not eating right, period. This whole thing about genetic fatness is stupid. We used to always, when I was fat, I used to say, I must have a bad thyroid. I didn't even know what a thyroid was. It was a good excuse. I was fat because I did nothing but eat. One meal a day, from morning till night. Exercise was a curse word to me. I used to look at jocks and laugh at them. Oh, look at those idiots over there. So I was smoking marijuana. You get the picture? Yeah. Now it's funny. Everything I used to think was hip, I now think is weird. Now I'm exercising all of the time. The only hemp I take are the seeds. How everything changes. Sugar overload and lack of blood sugar management. Small amounts of carbohydrates give you energy. Add more nourishing foods to your diet. The more nourishment you are, more nourished you are, the less cravings you will have. Chlorella helps that. I mean, we used to tell